Hello, my name is Emma Kraft, and I'm going to talk to you about my capstone project, First Take From. So originally, First Take From was my cornerstone project. The concept of First Take From is live streaming interviews / performances and doing them in one take. And no location would be the same. It would be a different location every time. My tasks were to not be as involved in the planning process and creating the project because it wasn't my capstone. So I was more like the assistant. I was going to be the help at all of the sessions. And I created a bunch of the paperwork. I created the session agreement, and I think there was another one. But I also contacted the bands and artists to see if they were interested in partaking in First Take From. But COVID happened and changed the course of First Take From. So my original plan, with the permission from the original capstone group, which was Braun, Carrie, Colin, and Tristan, that I was going to take what we did in the spring of 2020 and do some more videos in the fall. So by the time my capstone semester rolled around, I was able to take all the information and data that we had and do what I could to make it into a student-run venture, or make it something that can be something here at Millikan for audio-based students and film students. But with COVID, it put First Take on a halt, a stop, standby. We actually were still planning on doing at least one session so we had something to present. But by the time our first session rolled around, we had to cancel because the state got shut down. We literally weren't capable of doing anything. And it sucked because we worked really hard on this and it was something that was different and new, and we really wanted to. We loved the process of it, and I fell in love with the project. So I'm super excited. In the next clip, you're actually going to be seeing our first session, and we actually brought on Braun. So it isn't our typical interview session that we would have with an artist where, they would play a song, we would interview them, play another song, have like this cool little chill, relaxed conversation with them. But I felt like it would be a full circle thing if I was to get Braun in, because it was his idea. Like, the concept of First Take From was his idea. And he's doing amazing things. Like, he just graduated. He opened a studio. I mean, you'll see it in the next clip, but I am so happy that Braun decided and agreed that he would take part in my first session and do a video with me. And I am beyond thankful. I love the studio, the space. It's amazing. And I hope you guys enjoy the first session of First Take From as much as I enjoyed being there. So enjoy the clip, and then I'll see you again to wrap this up.
Hello, my name is Braun Sheets, and you're watching First Take From.
Alright. Hello, Braun. Thank you for having us in your 11 studio. So first off, First Take is the original concept was your idea. So what was the original concept and goal for First Take?
So the main thing was I was watching a lot of online videos, like you would have your Tiny Desk concerts, you'd have your audio trees and things like that, which I love all those things. But the idea was I wanted to do it live. I wanted to broadcast it. The grand scheme was I wanted to broadcast it over WJMU. I wanted to go out on Arts Tech's YouTube page, and I wanted to highlight artists that were in the area, bands and some of the Milliken singer-songwriters and things like that. I wanted to do it all live. No safety net, no editing, because a lot of those programs are heavily edited, which is cool. I respect that, but at the same time, I wanted to do it, no holds barred.
So hopefully we can get First Take From up and going and actually live streaming it for people to see live. What is something that you would like to see happen with First Take From as it starts to grow?
So what's really interesting is this didn't happen because of the pandemic, and the pandemic turned into 100% First Take From by proxy. Is kind of what wound up happening, which is kind of funny. Also scary that I have such abilities to predict the future. But I think I'd like to see a lot of what's happening during, that's happened during quarantine and during the pandemic and everything. I'd love to see that continue, and people get a little more creative with it. We're starting to see a little bit more theatrics involved. We're seeing a lot more creative shooting, and the audio quality's gotten better in the past year just from that. And I'd like to see Milliken kind of adapt that and incorporate that into their curriculum, because I think this is kind of an unexpected avenue that we've all had to take out of necessity.
Okay, so the last question about First Take From before we go into your interview and where we are. If you can have anyone take part in a First Take From session, who would it be?
I think it's an interesting concept because, first of all, I'm Decatur born and raised, so I'd love to see all of my Decatur people get on board first. But, I've always said that we're a central location to many larger cities. There's no reason why we can't grow that. So I'd like to start, make this as grassroots as possible, get as many of our homegrown artists as possible, and then just keep it growing from there. And who knows, we might get somebody big, somebody really interesting involved in that. And I think that would really help us take off.
All right. So tell us who you are, where we are, what you do now.
Sure. So I'm Braun Sheets. I'm a very recent alum. I was a super duper senior. I've taken 2 tracks at Milliken over the years, and I graduated with a degree in Arts Tech and Arts Administration. And as soon as I left Milliken, I kind of decided to really kind of go gung-ho on the whole studio concept. Originally, this started off as an idea that I just needed a place to put my stuff. I own a lot of music gear. I worked in a music store for 15 years, and you accumulate a lot of stuff. So I wanted that and a place for my music projects to rehearse. And then word started kind of getting around that, hey, Braun's starting a studio. We need stuff recorded. So then the focus kind of shifted a little bit to now I'm up and operational as a studio here above the Arts Council in downtown Decatur, Illinois.
How many projects have you had since word of mouth?
Word of mouth. What's been awesome is how many artists have been okay with being socially distant and safe, and okay in doing all this recording amongst all this. So I've recorded bands here in town like Harlem Hayfield, Puff Puff Poseidon, Chris Bradley. I've done some remote work for artists like Ashley Riley. I've got other people on the line that are wanting to do some recording as well. So basically, since I started working up here in January, I've been busy.
Would you say, clearly this isn't something because COVID, kind of changed plans and systems. Would you say that it has been a positive impact, or has it set back?
It's give and take. I think artists naturally have to kind of adapt to whatever they're given. I don't think it's necessarily been great. I know there's a lot of people not touring, but then they kind of take that, making whole, lemonade out of lemons kind of scenario where, hey, we can't tour, but hey, maybe we can start writing more music. Hey, maybe we can start recording. And hey, maybe we can release our music in different ways. And that's kind of where the First Take thing came from. Is like, hey, maybe we don't just do albums. Maybe we start focusing on these live performances that we can also potentially release as an EP or put on YouTube for promotional purposes. It looks great in an electronic press kit, you know. So I think that was kind of the whole idea, is how many other mediums can we get artists, musical artists especially, to take part in.
So when, like, I know personally, like, you've gone in and out of school in, like, different type of fields.
Mm-hmm.
When did you, like, realize that this was something you were very passionate about, and, like, recording and wanting to make that your career?
I've always dabbled in it, and it's one of those things that I never really got tired of. So I originally went to school for film, and as a cocky teenager, I thought, you know, man, movies really, you know, whatever's coming out is just not great. I don't enjoy it. I'm going to go make some great movies. And that's where I went. But it wasn't even with the idea of that. I really wanted to score films. I wanted to be friends with people in the School of Film in Carbondale. I wanted to score their films. That was the main goal. And then, you know, having to motorcycles. Then having to pay for school all on my own, I had to leave because I couldn't afford it any longer. So then I took some time off, went to Richland. Then I went to Milliken for commercial music for a little bit, and that's, you know, when you're paying for it on your own, it gets a little tough. And then I took some time off, and I really had to reassess, you know, what do I really want to do. And it turns out that the world has turned into this, you have to be a little bit of everything. And that's kind of what the arts tech field is. So I'm not just playing music, I'm also recording it. But I'm also not doing that. I'm also having to make websites for my own stuff. I'm having to make logos for my own thing. So it's almost like being your own, to put it in music terms, it's almost like being your own personal record label in a way. You're having to do everything. You're booking your own gigs. You're recording your own music. You're making your own logos. You're promoting yourself. All that, but at the same time, it's not just about me. It's how can I help all these other artists too? Because I've got some degree of knowledge. How can I help these other people out as well?
That's a good segue into collaboration.
Yeah.
So, collaborating in its own has its pros and cons when it comes to, like, different types of artistic views. What is something that you have found easy or a trick per se to help with those collaboration headbutts or roadblocks?
So what's really interesting, I haven't had any like headbutting necessarily, but there's been a lot of, I think, you know, I'm in my 30s at this point, and a lot of the people I've worked with now are about the same age, if not older. And I think we've all kind of realized, oh, hey, that doesn't get anything done. It's all about looking at things constructively and knowing how to talk to people. So at the very beginning of the pandemic, I started recording things for an artist I play for named Ashley Riley, and she works with a producer out of Champaign named James Treichler. And he does kind of the same thing I do, but he's been doing it a little bit longer. So he sent me some tracks at the very beginning of the pandemic because we weren't gigging. And he sent me the tracks. He's like, hey, can you cut some guitars for this? And I cut them, and he was super thrilled with them. I cut them in my bedroom at home before I'd even moved here. And he was super thrilled with them, and he used them in the track, and that was cool. But then he sent me another track to come up with stuff for, and, you know, he wasn't as happy with it. He's like, did you change something? You know, what's going on with your recording or whatever? And I hadn't changed much of anything, but it was just one of those deals where you had to learn to adapt for the song, adapt for the situation. You know, what I did before wasn't the same thing, you know, didn't fit the current project. So it's about finding, you know, constructive ways to collaborate, not necessarily dealing with headbutting, just kind of knowing how to speak the language.
Another question on collaborating. So you've been in this biz for a minute. How many songs have you written individually versus like collaborating?
I'm almost always been collaborative. I operate better when I'm kicking ideas off of other people. You know, I've always been in band situations. Not very often is it, oh, hey, it's this one person that's calling the shots and everybody's just doing what they're saying. Almost everybody has a say. It's almost always, some form of a democratic process. I think it's healthier that way. Not everybody can be a Trent Reznor type or something like that. I wish I could be, but we're not all gifted with that. So almost everything I've done has been a collaborative process.
What is like your favorite part of, I guess, everything as a whole, and like the creative process and performing and just like the whole process itself?
When other people are as excited about something as I am, because that's energy to feed off of at that point. I had a band in here about a week or so ago, and we were just doing basic rhythm tracks, and I hadn't touched anything in terms of mixing or anything, and they come in to listen to playback. They're like, "Man, that sounds awesome." It's like, we've been trying to do this on our own forever now, and it just doesn't sound like that good. So that's like reassuring, a little bit of a ego buffering and all that. It feels good for me, but I'm excited that they're excited because that means I'm doing something right.
Knowing what you know now, what is something that you would do differently in the early stages of your career?
Man, this is totally counterintuitive to probably what everybody's parents have said to them. But man, if you're not into it, don't do it. I've had many a jobs where, not many, I've made a habit of, as soon as I stop having fun at a job, I leave. I worked, I did the cart pushing and stuff as a teenager, and obviously that gets old, right? Then, and I worked for, a major network affiliate as a photojournalist for a while, and I loved that job for a minute, but, it started to not be fun, so I left it. And then I spent, 15 years working in a music store, and it was really great. And then, modern economy kind of made that tough, and it stopped being fun. The one consistent thing for me is like I've loved teaching this entire time. I've been teaching for 17 years now, guitar. But, as soon as that stops being fun, I'll probably stop doing it. It's all about having fun in what you're doing, and I feel lucky in that respect because I don't feel like everybody can do that. I'm not saying, if you believe it, whatever, everybody has different circumstances, but, trying's not going to hurt you at all. But yeah, trying to do what you love and maybe possibly, making some money at it, it's not going to hurt you in the end. If you put all your eggs in that basket, maybe sure, but there's no excuse for you to not at least try it.
With that being said, how have you developed and grown, over the years?
There's always that youthful ego that comes along with, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be really good at it. I will say I've taken probably one of the most difficult routes around getting to where I want to be. Mostly because, and it's push and pull upon, man, I think I'm going to be really good at this. And then I get upset because I'm not great at it instantly. But then you also have a lot of naysayers too that's saying, that's not smart. Hey, don't do that. So I will say the number one thing that I think I've grown to learn over time is, man, I like this. I'm enjoying this. I will see how long I can do this for. And, hey, if I can make something of it, cool. So it kind of goes back to the last question of, going through and just doing what I like and, finding your way through. It's as long as I can do it and I enjoy it, I'll probably do it. And if I don't like it anymore, there's no point in continuing until I can kind of catch that next wave.
So, what are some current projects that you have?
So I have several things. I kind of have an ongoing process with Harlem Hayfield. They kind of pop in here every once in a while. They throw some things down, and we just do that little by little. Chris Bradley is a folk singer here in town. He's wanting to complete an entire album. And then I have a band here in town called Puff Puff Poseidon, and they're completing a whole album right now. And I'm currently working on my own little project right now. It doesn't have a name. It's in its very earliest stages, and I'm very excited about it. But those are the three things that are really, really happening right now in this studio.
Would those be like your first album?
Yeah, I was thinking about that today. I was like, because I've recorded a ton of things, but it's never been like a whole piece of work. It's always been a single here or, things for Milliken, or I recorded a Christmas song for the Arts Council, a Christmas song for Harlem Hayfield back to Christmas, but I've never been at just a whole record as a cohesive thing. So this is the beginning. So I'm learning as much now as I was when I was doing the audio engineering thing. You get all the tools to set you up, but the real learning starts after you're in it. And it's been I won't say haphazard, because I have lots of people helping me out. Everybody at Milliken still talks to me, thankfully, and they are willing to give me all of their advice, and I'm very, very grateful for that.
We'll be sure to link everything so people can up to your albums and stuff. I have 2 more questions for you.
Sure.
That's one of them being, if you can collaborate or perform with anyone, who would it be?
Oh man, dead or alive?
Whatever you want.
I'll give you 2. Dead, I would absolutely love to work with David Bowie. Alive, Tom Waits. I think those dudes are so delightfully weird and so genuine at the same time that I want to do it for a learning experience on my end. I don't know that I bring much to their table, but I think I would learn a lot.
Are they like one of big influences, or like some people that have like impacted you, like some choices, like creatively?
Oh, absolutely. David Bowie was a chameleon. Whenever he got tired of one thing, he moved on to the next thing. That's kind of what I try to adapt over time. And then Tom Waits to an extent, but that dude's so unapologetic. That dude walks to his own beat, and he will tell anybody and everybody no if he's not about it. So, yeah, I'm a tad bit stubborn. I'm open-minded, though, but I am stubborn.
And lastly, what is some advice you would give to someone who's just starting their journey?
Don't be afraid to dive in. Just make a ton of mistakes, because sometimes those mistakes turn into really cool. It's the Bob Ross thing, right? Happy accidents. There's no mistakes. Happy accidents. And you can read manuals and read online forums and all this stuff, and you get a million opinions. But really, learning to form your own and figuring out what works for you and what doesn't is huge. And sometimes you might run into somebody who is seasoned and really knows what they're talking about. But sometimes you need to know, oh, hey, yes, that they are correct, but that's not the same for me. That doesn't work the same way. So not everything is black and white. You can kind of blur the lines a bit.
Well, thank you for having us, and welcome to your studio. It's lovely, by the way. And that's all the questions I have for you.
Well, thanks for coming up. Thanks for watching my session of First Take From.
Yay!
Alrighty.
Rolling.
Hello and welcome back. You guys just finished watching the first session of First Take From with Braun Sheets. I'm speechless, like that was amazing. I had so much fun filming that. Braun is amazing. Again, thank you, Braun, for taking the time out of your day and your busy schedule to have a sit-down conversation with me. As always, a pleasure. So, First Take is now my project and my passion. I love it. I had to make decisions to change it up a bit. So, we're not doing the live stream just yet. That live streaming is something that I would love to slowly work our way into doing. But we will definitely be doing it and going through the normal First Take session, like the original plan to live stream, then post, and stuff like that. But all the work I've been doing this semester, I wrote up a COVID statement. I wrote up a release form, a video release form for all the artists and people who are going to be on camera to sign and give us the okay to use their voice, their image, just everything. My hope is to at least get one more session in, and I have a band in mind and I'm super excited. They are actually one of the original bands that we were going to be doing a session with last year, but then COVID. I'm going to also be reaching out to other people, hopefully, and trying to get as many sessions as I can before I graduate, just so it's not just a one-session thing. Let's see. I also created a list of basic questions that we can ask the artists, but in reality, like, it's an outline questions, like you can just be like, who are you? You know, all this stuff. But if you're in the interview and like the interview portion of the session and you guys are having a conversation and the artist says something and you think of a question, by all means ask that question. Like, it doesn't have to be by the book necessarily. Those questions are just there and just to give you a starting point. And as you noticed in the session, Braun was just like, hello, my name is Braun Sheets and you're watching First Take From. And then at the end, he said, thank you for watching my session of First Take From. And that is something that I want to establish for all of our artists that come on to First Take From, as something that is built in with the session, and that will be a reoccurring thing to establish a structure and stability of our sessions of First Take From. And I am super excited to continue doing sessions and hoping that I can get a few more people on board to do these sessions with me. And I really hope you guys enjoyed watching First Take From as much as I enjoyed putting it together and making what was once on paper a reality. But yeah, that was the gist of my semester with First Take From. That was First Take From. And I couldn't be more happier and proud of how far First Take From has come throughout this year. And I'm happy that I got to share it with you, and it's now out there for people to watch and see. And I hope they enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed being a part of it and filming with these amazing people and all the amazing people that I'm going to meet in the future with First Take From. But although it's not the way we initially thought it was going to be or how it was going to run, but that's the whole point of learning, and like, you faced your challenges head on You learn to adapt with situations and the environment around you. And it's a good motivation to figure out and be more creative with what is now in front of you. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching this first session of First Take From. And that's my capstone. First Take From. Thank you for listening to me and go on about First Take From. Again, my name is Emma Kraft, and this was First Take From.